In this video, I am going to tell you 8 things that I wish I had known before I took my first job in communications. I feel like when I look back, if I had known these things sooner, I would have made fewer mistakes in my career and I could have accelerated my progress more. Now, a quick disclaimer, this is all based on my experience. Maybe it's different to your experience, but these are things that I feel like would have really helped me back when I started my career. Now, I'm in my 40s now. I've been around a while. I've worked in communications for a very long time. I've seen some stuff. I've also won a bunch of awards for the work I've done over the years. I now run my own communications consulting practice. So I'm going to spill the tea on what it's really like working in communications and things that you should know early in your career. So here's 8 things I wish I knew before I took my first job in communications. The first thing that I wish that I had known is that when you go into a company to take on a role in communications, it is totally normal that loads of people suck at communicating. I think when I first started out in this industry, I joined a company in quite a junior role, and I just sort of assumed that the CEO and all the senior leaders, they knew everything, they were super clever, and they were going to be great communicators as a result. And that's simply not true. Often when you start working in communication, you're well versed in what good communication looks like and feels like. And then you go into a company and you see really long-winded, pointless emails. You have to sit through these endless presentations with terrible slides that kind of don't go anywhere, and you're drowning in this sea of acronyms and jargon, and it's quite hard to understand things. And you'll also see a lot of friction between colleagues and between teams, which is usually caused by poor communication. So I think I wish that someone had told me way back when that this is normal and that your role as a communicator inside an organization is so badly needed and is so important, and not to underestimate the value of what you bring to that organization. The second thing that I wish I had known before I started in the world of communications is the importance of relationships. You cannot be an effective communications professional without the ability to build up really deep, trusting relationships with your stakeholders. I think very early in my career, I probably put too much emphasis just on the technical skills. So your technical skills as a communicator might be writing, might be drafting messages, might be crafting campaigns, but none of this matters if you can't work well with different people around the business, get them to trust you, and to really start to co-create and collaborate with them. And this makes sense, right? Because we've all worked with people who have been unpleasant, and it doesn't make for a great working relationship. Nobody wants to spend time with someone who's unpleasant. So that bit about building relationships, if I look back, I think I should have invested more time early in my career in building relationships and less time just on executing the technical part of the job. The third thing that I wish someone had told me sooner before I got a job in communications is the importance of taking a job in a big comms team. So if I look back on my career, there's been lots of times where I worked in a very small team. Maybe it was just me and a boss. And actually when I was junior, when I was just getting started, it would have been much more helpful to me to work in a bigger team. And that's because you're going to be exposed to lots more different working styles. You get to work on lots of different projects. You will be learning and growing at a much faster pace when you're in a team full of experienced communication professionals. It will give you such an unfair advantage at the start of your career. And it's not something that I ever really thought of at the start of my career, but in hindsight, what I probably should have been doing when I was doing my early roles in my career is looking for a placement in a team that has, 3, 4, 5 plus people, so that I could really use it as a learning and a growth opportunity and not just a job. So honestly, I didn't really think about that early on, but in hindsight, it would have been a really good move. The fourth thing that I wish someone had told me sooner before I worked in communications is the importance of some formal training in communications. So this might sound strange because maybe you think that to work in communications, you need a degree in communications or a formal qualification, but that's not always the case. Particularly in internal communications or employee communications, lots of people make a sideways move in from HR or maybe from an EA or administration role, and they can kind of struggle then because they don't have the formal training in the basics of communication. So my own background, I do not have a degree in communications. I have a degree in sociology, and then I did formal qualification in communications later. But in hindsight, I wished I'd done that sooner. It would have made my first job much easier. I would have made fewer mistakes. I would have made more sense out of things because I would have had that structured grounding and a framework to draw on. So if you work in communications but you don't already have any formal training, or maybe you're watching this and you're like, I would love to work in communications. Look for some certificates, some courses, some workshops. Try to learn as much as you can in a structured way, because the real life experience and the on-the-job learning is so important, but you also need that structured formal learning. The fifth thing that I wish someone had told me sooner in my career in communications is the importance of finding your tribe and building your network. Particularly when you work in a small team, or maybe it's just you as a team of one. It can be very hard to get different perspectives on something you're working on, or how to get unstuck from a problem. And it's hard to find people in the organization that get it, because you may be the only communications professional. So it's really helpful for you to find a network, find a tribe of other communications professionals who do get it. They face the same challenges as you, they have the same struggles as you, they're trying to achieve the same things as you. Now, there are different ways that you can do this. If you have zero budget, then my advice is to go on LinkedIn, make your profile look great, and start connecting with other communicators. There's also loads of free groups on LinkedIn where people are talking about communication. So jump in and get started there. If you're looking for more direct support, more intensive support, I run a membership community called the Curious Tribe. This is specifically for people who work in internal communications, who want to get direct support from me, but also learn and connect with other communicators around the world, so you can get unstuck on your problems and share your experiences. It took me years to figure out that I needed a network in communications. I was really behind the time on this. If you're starting out, this is something that I would look for early on, because it's going to really help accelerate your career. The sixth thing I wish I knew before I took a job in communications was the importance of staying up to date with industry trends and reports and insights. So your career is completely your responsibility. You might work in an organization where nobody stays up to date with what's happening in the broader communication landscape. So that is totally up to you. So there are loads of reports that come out every year that will give you really useful insights into benchmarks, like what's the average team size in an organization, or what's the average budget that people get for communications. There are also books that come out each year with different topics that you need to get familiar with. So lately there's a couple of new books on employee listening, the importance of listening to your employees for good communication. Staying up to date with these trends and these reports will help you to make more of an impact in the job you're in now, but it will also set you up really well the next time you go for an interview for your dream job. I have done loads of hiring over the years, and I always notice when a candidate comes into an interview and they are able to talk about what's happening in the industry, their opinions on it, how to future-proof an internal communication strategy because they know what's coming down the track. This is all really impressive for a hiring manager. So it's worth taking the time to invest in doing some reading, doing some research on a regular basis. The seventh thing that I wish I knew before I got a job in communications is the importance of building up your credibility and your authority as a professional communicator. This is not something that I thought about until about 5-6 years ago, and I've been doing this a long time. So I wish someone had told me sooner about the importance of creating some social proof. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Back in 2019, I took a job as head of internal communications with the Irish Police Force. And when I started that job, I was reaching out to some people in my network for some guidance and advice on how to really get started in a meaningful way. And I went for coffee with a lady who's head of internal communications with the national organisation here in Ireland. And she gave me some advice that really changed how I approached my job. She said, you're going into this huge organisation, you're just one person, you want to make a difference. The best thing you can do is focus on delivering some great work and then enter that work into an award, win that award, and then you can market yourself internally as an award-winning communicator. I mean, what brilliant advice, because it builds up that credibility of I'm an award-winning communicator. I can help you solve your problems. People are more likely to trust you, to bring you into their projects, and it can really just create that authority that maybe you don't have when you're starting a new job. So I wish I had been thinking about this way earlier in my career so that I could have gotten awards sooner. Again, that really looks good on your CV and when you're going for interviews if you are an award-winning communicator. And the final thing I wish I knew before I started working in communications is the importance of being comfortable with data and measurement. So being an effective communicator is not just about sending out great messages or creating amazing campaigns. It's about measuring the impact of your activity on the business. So I see a lot of people who measure a lot of things like the open rates of their newsletter, or how many people came to a meeting, or how many people opened the email. But actually what you really want to be comfortable with is measuring what difference does all this communication activity make to the business. So you need to be comfortable with understanding the business strategy and understanding how your work maps up to that business strategy and how are you going to measure that. So communication courses will rarely teach you about data analytics, but I feel like if I had done a course in data analytics way back earlier in my career, it would have saved so much trouble. I would have had a much better grounding for how to measure and demonstrate the value of my work as a communicator. So these are the 8 things that I wish I knew before I took my first job in communications. I hope that me spilling my guts like this has been helpful, has been useful to you. If it has been helpful and you like this video, please do me a favor. I would really appreciate if you would subscribe to my channel, hit that like button. And I really hope that these tips help you to build a career that you love and that you really enjoy, because that's the most important part. So thanks very much. Cheers. See you next time.